Well, I guess Senator Elizabeth Warren never got over Donald Trump calling her goofy. In this classic Trump tweet, then candidate Trump said, "Goofy Elizabeth Warren, sometimes referred to as Pocahontas, pretended to be a Native American in order to advance her career. Very racist." Well, today, the Massachusetts senator launched a full-scale attack on Trump's wealthy cabinet picks, claiming potential conflicts of interest. Now, joining us, Liberal commentator Danielle McLaughlin and Boston Herald columnist Adriana Cohen. Danielle, what's wrong with these picks? Aren't they the best people for the job?
I think the place that Elizabeth Warren is coming from is a place of consumer protection. She, in 2011, put together the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has helped folks with payday lending and all these other things. In the campaign, Donald Trump came out really strong against folks in Goldman Sachs, even criticizing Ted Cruz for being married into Goldman Sachs, and also Hillary Clinton, of course, for her speeches to Goldman Sachs. And I think what she's doing is she's calling out some hypocrisy, because on the campaign trail, he was very much like, I'm a man of the people and Goldman Sachs are bad people, which is, of course, not the case. And I think her concern is, number one, that it was hypocrisy, and number two, the Trump organization's largest debt is partly held by Goldman Sachs. And so her concern is, are you beholden as executive of this country's commander-in-chief to anybody?
But in terms of picking people for the job, shouldn't we wait and see what they actually do in the jobs, not just who they are? I mean, they may turn out, even though they've come from that background, and things that she might even agree with.
I think that might be the case. And even Hillary Clinton, when her speeches were revealed, they're of course secret originally, she talked about putting those folks in the places because they understand the business, they understand the financial markets, they understand concerns of consumers and of businesses. And I think it's not generally a bad thing. But if Trump hadn't come out so hard, maybe Warren wouldn't have come out so hard against him.
Well, Adriana, you know Elizabeth Warren very well. What's your take on all this? Has she got a point?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't have a leg to stand on, and I'll tell you why. You know, Elizabeth Warren has made a career attacking Wall Street. Yet what did she do? She endorsed Hillary Clinton, who is one of the biggest vessels of Wall Street cash. Just in this last election, Hillary Clinton accepted over $64 million from Wall Street. And earlier this year in February, the Wall Street Journal put out a report estimating that the Clintons, Hillary and former President Bill Clinton, have accepted roughly $100 million from Wall Street since they got on the national stage, launching their political careers, whether that money was to come into their campaigns, their foundation, or their personal finances with these Wall Street speeches. And so talk about hypocrisy. Here you have Elizabeth Warren attacking Donald Trump for hiring Wall Street executives, but when members of her own party accept roughly $100 million from Wall Street, she gives them a pass. And I see great hypocrisy there.
But could you say that the hypocrisy is on both sides? I think that you made the case very well for the hypocrisy coming from their side. But what about the argument that Danielle was making, that actually, given what Trump said about those industries and that way of thinking about the corruption that exists between politicians and big companies, especially financial ones, to hire people from Goldman Sachs actually is hypocrisy on his part too?
Right, but one thing I do want to point out is that the head of Goldman Sachs, Lloyd Blankfein, was a big Hillary Clinton supporter, but Elizabeth Warren didn't go after him. She doesn't criticize him because he backed Hillary. Look at George Soros. He's a big hedge fund billionaire, but because he supports Democrats, Elizabeth Warren looks the other way. But to your point, Stephen, to Danielle's, yes, Donald Trump did campaign, basically self-funding as much as he could his own campaign, because he doesn't want to be beholden to anybody. He wants to do what's right for our country and not be a puppet on anyone's string, including Wall Street. And so I think what Donald Trump is doing right now is he simply wants to staff his administration with the best and the brightest people. And some of those people, like it or not, are from Wall Street.
Thanks, Adrian. It was Lloyd Blankfein, I think, by the way, from Goldman Sachs. But just
Blankfein,
a quick just a quick last point, Danielle. Don't you give Trump some credit for funding so much of his own campaign and for doing it much more cheaply than some of these other campaigns, and therefore not being so reliant on big donors? Absolutely.
You have to give credit where credit is due, and that's absolutely the case. What Donald Trump did in this campaign is unheard of, and really in any leadership race that we've seen really in modern history anywhere in the world. So you have to give him credit for what he achieved, whether you agree with what he said or how he did it or not. You have to give him credit where credit is due.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you to both of you. Thank you very much.